Hey guys, so I'm going to be doing a small series of a story-driven game called Ballads at Midnight, and we'll jump in and see how it goes. Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing my microphone's not in the right place. A game called Ballads at Midnight. I've never played it before. I found it on Steam, so I'm gonna give it a try and see how it goes. Ballads at Midnight is a rated T for suggestive material, strong language, alcohol use, and illustrations to trauma, child abuse, and fantasy violence. Ballads at Midnight. So let's have a look at the settings. Full screen. That's better. Read text. Font default. Text speed, change speed of the text display, auto speed. And let's go about. Say that was midway. Yeah, it's about midway. Sound settings, voice volume, it looks fine. Music volume, bit too loud. No. That sounds like it. No, let's go about there. Sound volume, okay. Okay. Return, Ballads of Midnight. Okay, start, I guess. Let's see how this is now. Chapter 1, Prelude to Dawn. My wrists itch. My stomach is churning and empty. My legs are sore. The swath of hemp fabric, strung taut around my cheeks and tied in a knot behind my head, is chafing against the corners of my mouth. Okay. There's a bitterness on my tongue. I idly wonder if it's the taste of regret. My two armed escorts ride ahead of me, exchanging hushed words. I make a short and happy noise to contribute to the conversation. They ignore me. But are you sure, sir? Really, are you? Shouldn't we stop and make camp before sundown, sir? Oh, pockmarked guardsman. Okay. The younger guardsman is jittery and demanding, with a stooped posture that reminds me of a rat. His round face is marred by pockmarks and worrying lines. Oh, guardsman, no need. We're making good time. The other guard, as old and large as a cavern wall, has a deep, crusty voice well suited to his frame. I once saw him struggle to fit through a door. The pockmarked guard glances towards the horizon, lying gritting his teeth. Pockmarked guardsman, but sir... Enough, we'll be rid of her today. Be rid of me like being rid of some piss-stained rug? How rude. What did I ever do to warrant such objectification? Feeling vexed, I continue to groan and yowl against the hemp between my teeth. It's inarticulate and far from the most graceful sound I've made, but I make it sound increasingly urgent. Noise and more noise, says the old guardsman. One of them pulls the reins on his horse, dismounting with a dull armoured clatter like a rattling dish cabinet. It's the younger one. Good. He approaches me, muttering swears as he reaches back to yank the gag from my head. What? Convict, what is it now? Says the pocked guardsman. Okay, most people buy me a drink before they bring out the gag. Or you're all ingrates, you hear me, low-browed, barbaric boneheads, the whole lot of you. Let's go with that one. Most people buy me a drink before they bring out the gag. Stop it, said the pockmarked guardman. He hisses the words low under his breath, though his ears glow glow a traitorous shade of tomato red. It wasn't funny the first time, and it won't be funny the next time. There won't even be a next time at the rate we're going, said the pockmarked guardsman. I can say it again pretty fast, I think. Gods, you really haven't learned your lesson. What's wrong with you, said the pockmarked guardsman. He almost sounded amazed. If my hands were untied, I'd twirl my wrists and do a curtsy. So instead, I sidled up to him, reaching out to brush my knuckles over his waistband. What's wrong? I wager you know exactly what's wrong. I was under the impression we'd moved past ritualistic sacrifice as a civilization. You see, I thought we were better than all this. Yet here you knuckleheads are, dragging me through the woods to feed me to a godforsaken vampire. I stomp on a branch when I get close enough. The ensuing crack obscures the sound as I unsheath the dagger from his belt. I palm it under my sleeve in a quick motion, hoping my ruse goes unnoticed. The guard stumbles away from me. He draws his sword to keep me at bay, snarling. You keep away, you heretic. Don't come near me, said the pockmarked guardsman. I raised my bound wrists in front of my chest, winding my eyes to look inappropriately frightened. And I still have his dagger. By the time he clambers back onto his horse, his older companion extends his arm and smacks the back of the young guardsman's head. Idiot, now we have to listen to her belly aching for the rest of the journey, said the old guardsman. Do we? Said the pockmarked guardsman. The younger guard rubs his head, sounding defensive. She's caused nothing but trouble. Why not slit her throat and be done with it? Let the wildlife take care of the remains, said the pockmarked guardsman. Ah, said the pockmarked guardsman. The old guard hits him again. I find humour in this slapstick routine if they weren't discussing my imminent demise. Shush, boy. We carry Your Majesty's orders to the letter, you and I. No shortcut, said the old guardsman. You know the severity of our laws. Underhanded practice will cost you your darn hands, said the old guardsman. The pockmarked guard hunches further on at the shoulders. His eyes dart around like he wants to argue, but he begrudgingly clamps his mouth shut. I, on the other hand, have a dogged penchant for making my observations known, and am blessed with quick retorts. Oh, it just costs a finger if you're lucky. I noticed our wise old man here is missing a digit or two. I raise my restrained palms, wriggling my fingers. They glower balefully at me. I've seen actual battlefields, harlot, not like me to your crooked bar brawl it irk. Old guardsman. Convict, heretic, and now harlot. Wonderful. I roll my eyes and wrinkle my nose at him. I'll bet anything that the old man is lying. Illuvia hasn't waged any wars in the past half-century. Furthermore, he boasts to my jailers that he's been assigned to this post for the brunt of his service to the crown. But I know better than to push my luck with him. He's more prone to violence than the other guardsmen. I used to lag behind at the start of our journey, defiant and stubborn. The old one never hesitated to yank the rope between my wrists, lurching me right into brambles and sharp stones. Defying him, I learnt, meant having scraped palms and knees at best. Our pace carefully slows when we cross over a mossy log and a series of thick, tangled roots, for the horse's sake, of course, rather than mine. I work my jaw into silence for a while, keeping a measured distance between them. My grip on the dagger is unwieldy and clumsy. Aiming it towards my bonds is trickier than I imagined. I flinch as a pointed tip jabs against my inner arm, but shoot the guards a winning smile when they turn to look at me. So, good old cursed forest, eh? Did you volunteer to escort prisoners through the blighted bush, or was it an inherited post? Father's father and such. The pockmarked guard scoffs and mimics my words under his breath. Nothing to fear in these woods, lass, not if you're properly armed. Nothing but bears and wolves. People steer clear because they fear what lies in wait beyond. Surely you know that much, said the old guardsman. The men don't design to tell me how they were assigned to their roles. None of my business, I suppose. An overhead canopy of leaves parted, allowing patches of sunlight to heat my scalp and cheek. The journey has been long and exhausting, but not altogether difficult. I've even considered an idyllic from its perpetual backdrop of birdsong and distantly running water. Any sense of leisure sinks and coils at the pit of my stomach as I realise the birds have gone silent. The sound of water has risen into a dull roar. Before us is a murky disc of water, blemish green with algae, miles long, miles wide, in a harrowing, uncertain depth. A jagged, ostentatious estate protruding from the ground like a sword through someone's back looms across the water's expanse. Not the first decrepit castle I've seen on my travels, but perhaps it may be my last. That's where I'll be staying then. Home sweet home. Shit, I've barely shorn through a quarter of my restraints. Even if I make a break for it now, they'd run me down on horseback. I tried it before, back when they marched me through the greater plains. They nearly trampled me into the pasture. Quiet down, you sorry lass. You may wish to take this time to consider your last words, said the old guardsman. That's not a bad idea. I could hit you with the real zinger before I go. The old guard groans, mumbling a bit of prayer. I barely have time to hide the dagger before he dismounts and shoves me with more force than necessary. He loads me unceremoniously into a ramshackled little boat, leaving the pockmarked guard to deal with me while he tends to the horses. My breath catches when the remaining guard takes the seat opposite to me. His gawky movements nearly make the boat capsize before we've even left the shore. The boat cuts through the algae like a knife. Over on dry land, the old guardsman takes a heavy seat in the grass as he watches the sun descend. It's more serene view than he deserves. I take a deep breath and open my mouth to shout. You old bastard or a grown prune? You old bastard, go on. You old bastard. The young guard bites back a chuckle and clears his throat. I suppose he's freer to find revelry now that we're a safe distance away. As I wearily crane my neck around, I observe how the water completely surrounds the estate. That makes this a moat. But there clearly isn't a drawbridge in sight. At its north, east and westward edges, the moat connects to a river. Following one side will likely lead one straight to the Rubicon Ocean. It's quite lovely, really, to be surrounded by such a wealth of natural water. Shame I never learned how to swim. I don't suppose can I persuade you to ferry me over yonder all the way around the estate on the other side of the shore? The guard elects not to reply. He won't even look at me now. Aside from the oars carving through the water, the remaining boat ride is hushed and nerve-wracking. I sit straight and stock still, trying to keep my weight centered despite the stinging insects nipping at my neck and ankles. The sun turns red as it dips closer to the horizon. It takes half an hour to reach the other side, if not longer. Beyond the lip of the water is a carved ledge with a pit of trenches surrounding the estate's perimeter. Flippin' hell, learn how to read, idiot. Pretty. The guard wastes no time forcing me upright and pushing me off the side. I fall into a rock, barely cushioned by the impact of grassy mud. I aim myself back up with effort, ready to yell the insult boiling at the tip of my tongue. To my surprise, the young guard is still up there, lingering at the edge. Miss me already, or hesitating doesn't make you better than him? Hesitating doesn't make you better than him. With the sun setting behind the guardsman, his features are cast in an unreadable shadow. His fingers twitch and tap at his side. He casts an uneasy glance over his shoulder before finally he grumbles and rummages through his overcoat. From it, he pulls out the neck of a familiar instrument and throws it onto the ground with me. I cry out as my loot lands in the mud, nearly falling onto my own shoulder as I reach and fail to catch it. You'll owe me in your next life, convict. I hope this accursed thing provides you some comfort in your final moments, said the pockmarked guardsman. I glare up at him. Old guy made you nervous, didn't he? All that talk about cutting off hands for being underhanded. Pockmarked Guardsman, shut up. I knew you were acting jumpy for a reason. I just knew it. You were going to pawn off my poor little beauty here, but now you don't want to risk getting caught with it. Harlot, said the pockmarked Guardsman. He spits me before he hurries away. I listen for the sound of the boat sloshing into the water and then the creak of oars shortly thereafter. Now, why is it that when people don't know how else to argue with the woman, they must remark on how frequently she has sex? With effort, I dislodged the dagger from the inside of my sleeve. It's still unwielding, but cutting myself loose is a little easier when I don't need to hide the blade from my captors. I pick up my loot, carefully wiping off the dirt and grime before I check and adjust its strings. I holster it across my back where it belongs. It's thankfully intact, but I'm not sure I can say the same about myself. I know I need to come up with a plan. I need to explore and get familiar with my surroundings, seek out a hiding spot while there's still daylight. But my entire body is aching. I won't get far if I push myself to move now. I check the inside of my clothes for the last of my possessions, kept safe and hidden under the lining. I've never been more grateful to have learned invisible stitching. A handful of coins and my songwriting journal are all I have left. I've hidden a number of small blades on my person, but I was too reckless in my previous escape attempts. I kept getting caught and they confiscated all my knives. Guardsman dagger isn't too shabby at least. Tuck the blade into my belt, careful not to poke myself. I'll be ready to use it when it's dark. The ledge I fell from cast a long shadow. I edge away from it into the remaining light, and I concentrate on taking deep, rejuvenating breaths. This creature of the night, I've heard it can change its very shape. If it pursues me in the form of some animal, I doubt I can outrun it for long. It's wisest to save my strength so as I can battle whatever form it takes. After all, I'm determined not to go down easily. Chapter 2, Rhapsodic Introductions. Dusk falls. There's barely a slither of appropriate orange glowing across the horizon, which means my shelter of light dims and shrinks by the minute. I shiver as the evening cold burrows under my clothes, and I sense the vampire just moments before I hear it speak.
Well, well, another gift from the crown.
The creature's eerie, serpentine voice moves around me as it prowls behind the perimeter of remaining light. It's watching me, circling me like a vulture.
What grievous crimes you must have committed to be sent all the way here.
I draw my dagger, pointing it at the source.
Assessing your dinner, beast? Your mother should have taught you not to play with your food.
The voice lapses into a contemplative hum. My heart hammers against my ribs, and as I lose track of the vampire in the silence. I twist around, catching sight of its eyes reflected in moonlight, right when it lunges. The vampire snatches me by the wrist. The skin on its dark, clawed hands bubbles under the waning sunlight before it wrenches me into the shadows. My dagger clatters to the ground.
You're talkative. I usually like it when they're talkative. But yours is an insolent nature. No doubt you've ended up here by disrespecting some local authority.
The vampire hoists my arm above our heads, positioning us face to face as he regards me. I scrutinize him in turn. He bears similarities to a human man, but I steal a glance upwards, observing his already healed hand with dismay.
You smell of chain rust, fresh soil, dried blood, and incense.
Yeah, I'm a big hit with nuns and orphans.
What am I doing? This isn't the time for banter. I struggle in his grasp. He steps forward, so we remain blanketed under the gloom of darkness. There's a small clatter underfoot as he drives his boot under my dagger, kicks it upright, and then snatches the blade out of the air in a fluid movement. He twirls the dagger between his long fingers, appraising it.
Most unusual. Few of my guests manage to smuggle a means to escape their bonds. If I had to wager, You must be a talented cutpurse. Which wouldn't be the worst offense, all things considered.
Stop manhandling me!
With my free, open palm, I smack him hard across the face and yank my captive hand free. He flinches at the blow, looking more astonished than anything else. I don't stay long enough to watch how he reacts next. I run. My lungs are heavy in my chest and my body is screaming at me to catch my breath, but I can't stop now. There's nothing I can use in this courtyard. My own choice is to head into the estate and hope to find a means of escape. There's got to be a ladder, or something. Something I can use to scale that damned ledge. Then I just need to find something buoyant, like a wood panel or a door or something. I run down dizzying, identical hallways. Down several cavernous rooms, displacing dining chairs and overturning saloon end tables in my wake. But there's nothing I can use to escape. Nothing I can narrow down in my panic. All the while, the vampire follows me with an even stride. He rubs his cheek with narrowed eyes.
Will you slow down? This is terribly tedious.
No.
He hasn't changed his shape, but I know how quickly he can pounce if I let him. If I let him near. I can't let him get close. I topple a nearby cabinet, sending it careening onto the floor between us. The vampire makes a small, offended noise amid the sound of crashing glass. Before he can react further, I seize a standing vase and hold it aloft, ready to throw.
Stop. Stop it. Calm down.
I pivot my grasp on the tip of the vase, bending my arms menacingly. Water and flowers slosh onto the floor.
You dare to tell me to calm down? Really?
There's an audibly muffled sigh when the vampire steeples his hands in front of his nose.
I despise the chase. Look at this blasted mess. You realize no one else lives here? After you're gone, who do you think has to clean up the remains of your rampage?
I'm sorry. Are you criticizing the way I'm fighting for my life?
You must understand, mortal. Despite what the good people of Illuvia will have you believe, I have no bestial compulsion to take your life. Alright? Though I'll admit you have sorely tempted me with the prospect of your demise, there is a civilized alternative worth considering.
A civilized alternative to becoming a withered, bloodless corpse decorating his hallway? I kept the vase aloft, halfway between willful rebellion and uncertain curiosity.
I'm listening.
That is all I ask. First of all, this here.
He dangles the dagger from between two fingers, as if it's a dirty sock he found in my chamber.
As a show of good faith, I will return to you this nasty little thing. In exchange, you will not stab me with it. Its blade is neither sharp nor long enough to kill me, but it will deeply annoy me. If I am deeply annoyed, I will be forced to rescind my good faith and tear you to shreds. Understood?
I furrow my brows, but I nod. It makes sense. If I actually want to incapacitate him, I'd at least need a larger weapon. I've yet to hear any myths where vampires are notoriously weak to standard cavalry daggers.
Good girl. Here.
He tosses a dagger over to me and slides along the floor until it stops with the heel of my boot. I don't bend to pick it up.
Our next matter at hand is the barter. I've been known to spare and set my prisoners free in exchange for knowledge or for an item of substantial value. Fortunately for you, I noticed the loot strapped to your back while you were racing through my abode.
Uh-oh. I pivot my torso away, trying in vain to hide the instrument from sight.
Come now, don't be selfish. Give it to me and you will have your freedom. Your life will be yours again. Keep away from Illuvia and lay low for several years. and the crown will be none the wiser.
I can't.
What?
I've cared for it ever since I was a little girl. How could I possibly give it up now?
I can't give it to you. No. I nearly lost it once already.
Nothing is stopping you from purchasing a new one once you have your freedom. Certainly you'll have to save up for a while. I recognize the value of an average instrument, let alone how much an artisan lute must cost now after centuries of inflation. However, you'll have plenty of chances to...
No. No. I said I won't give it to you.
Why not?
Why is he angry at me? Hypocrite. I raise my voice to match his tone. I can't help it. I get competitive.
You imply me to be insensitive on the grounds of trampling through your home, but what about you? Demanding my only means of providing for myself.
Your only means? Nonsense. You're able-bodied, young, far from hideous. Once you have your freedom, I'm quite certain you'll figure something out.
Your venerable age must have impaired your hearing then, vampire, because I'm not sure you quite caught it when I repeatedly said no. I am not giving it to you.
Fine. Then you're not leaving.
He flings his hand skywards, turning and stalking towards the nearest windows.
I pray you'll have fun rotting in here for the remainder of your brief and miserable existence, mortal. At which point you and I might have something in common.
He erupts into a vicious flurry of black mist. Once the smoke clears, I see the flapping outline of a bat soaring out of the window and into the night. I groan between gritted teeth, jostling the stupid vase that I'm still holding over my head. Attempting as it is to smash it, I set it down and begin gathering the displaced flowers with a dejected sigh. The blooms are vibrant, fresh and fragrant, but they're still going to wilt without water. Gods, I just got into a screaming match with a vampire and upset him so much that he had to, I don't know, go take an angry nap? I'm still alive. I should really count this as a win, but I don't know. My chest is tight with apprehension. I wasn't supposed to annoy him. He said he'd rip me to shreds if I annoy him. Damn it, god damn it, what have I done? I should have offered to barter with something else. I doubt he'd be interested in a few coins I have, and I can't bear to part with my music, but he did mention an option to trade knowledge. Even if he has centuries to experience the world around us, surely there's a obscure nugget of wisdom I can impart. After all, I like to think that everyone I meet teaches me something new. I'll have some leverage if I can figure out what he already knows. And if I can't, then I need to find something else to protect myself. The dagger will be of little use aside from cutting rope. Chapter 3.